Positional value actually matters in the NFL. And that's why people often like to talk about not paying running backs or drafting them in the first round. So today I want to talk about what positions make the most money in the NFL and where do teams spend the most outside of quarterback. Today is an analytical look at where teams spend their most money, positional value when it comes to the NFL draft. Today I'm comparing how much money each position makes in the NFL and see if we can add any relevance to our first round pick discussion this season. But not only how much does each position cost for a top player, but also what's the average cost for an average starter at each position. For that metric, I went by the 12th highest paid player in the league at each position. Let's go ahead and get into it. First, we're looking at the highest paid at each position. On the left side, I have the highest paid on offense, and on the right side, I have the highest paid on defense. It's no surprise that quarterback is obviously the highest paid position in the league. But coming in next would be wide receiver and pass rusher, not left tackle like most people would imagine. Usually, if you ask NFL fans, what are the highest paid positions outside of quarterback? Most people would say left tackle and defensive end. Would it surprise you that wide receivers have actually far surpassed offensive tackles and that wide receivers are actually almost getting paid more than wide receivers now, and that wide receivers might actually be getting paid more than pass rushers as well? It's just an interesting dynamic to talk about here. What positions get paid the most around the NFL? Where do teams put their money? Who are the highest paid players? So I've went ahead and did a lot of that groundwork for you already. We can see who the highest paid players are. The Bears actually don't have a single player that is the highest paid in the NFL. We only have one that is even in the top two. That player is Drew Dahlman, who is the second highest paid center in the league, but center is also the lowest paid position in the NFL. Ryan Poles loves his value contracts. But we're going to go ahead and take a deeper dive into this. Look at the highest paid positions in the NFL, and then also look at the average starters and what they get paid. And you'll see it's not exactly the same as the highest paid player. There is a little bit of correlation there. Having offensive tackle outside of the top five in highest paid positions and having it behind defensive tackle and cornerback, as well as wide receiver and edge rusher, that's surprising to me. Tackles used to be the second highest paid position in the NFL. That's no longer the case. But it's not that right tackles get paid a lot less than left tackles either. Right tackles are actually making just as much money as left tackles now, and the highest paid tackle in the entire NFL is Penei Sewell, who plays on the right side. But if you look on the right side of the graphic here, this is the average starter pay. This isn't the highest paid. This is each position, what they pay the 12th highest paid starter in the league. And you can see, obviously, still quarterback is number one, but wide receiver jumps far ahead of edge rusher and offensive tackle. There are a lot more receivers making over 20 million a year than there are offensive tackles or edge rushers, and that's a little bit surprising to me as well. Teams are leaning towards paying wide receivers big time money. But offensive tackle still doesn't make the top three, but it does jump back over defensive tackle and cornerback, and running back falls a little bit further down the list here. What this says to me is that special players at positions like running back, defensive tackle, and cornerback are worth it. But if you aren't getting a special player at those positions, then you're better off trying to find value. Once again, those positions are running back, defensive tackle, and corner. If you can find special players at those positions, then you grab them. But if not, there's plenty of value throughout the NFL. To me, all of this is relevant when trying to figure out what the Bears might do with the 10th pick this year. Does position value matter? Some people laughed at the Lions when they took a running back and a linebacker in the first round of the draft. Both are universally undervalued positions around the league, and both came in at the bottom of that chart. But Detroit, like many others in that graph, prove that if a player is special, they are worth selecting in the first round, regardless of positional value. Another way to think of it, though, is like this. Since we're drafting in the top 10 and we get this player on a rookie contract for 5 years, should we want to draft the most expensive position? If so, then that isn't good for Tyler Warren or Ashton Genty fans, as both running back and tight end rank very low on value. But on the flip side here, there's another way to think about it. Since this is the year after we drafted Caleb Williams, that means whoever we take this year is going to be looking to sign their contract extension after Caleb does, if everything works out, knock on wood. So, looking at it from that perspective, drafting Ashton Genty or Tyler Warren, or maybe even a safety here as well, could lead to a higher chance of them still being able to sign an extension after Caleb gets his mega deal. Think about it like that. If we draft an edge rusher here, there might be a less likely chance that we can afford him in 5 years after Caleb signs his contract. But Ashton Genty and Tyler Warren, you know you can get running backs and tight ends at a pretty decent cost. There's a lot of value at those positions. So I just wanted to give you guys something else to think about here as people continue to hammer the same narratives and clickbait down everyone's throat. So I wanted to do some deeper analytical dives and provide some fresh perspectives for the fan base. I did a deep dive on why arm length matters in the NFL, how free agent spending equates to losing in the NFL, drafting quarterbacks and running backs in round one, and more. Check those out if you missed it, guys. Please remember to hit that like button for me. Stay tuned. I have a ton more content on the way. And until next time, bear down.